Okay, Chair Duman, we're now live. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to be moving around here because I only have one screen to work off of. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me as I try to do that. And I am just now going to go. Brittany, can you screen share the agenda or no?
Absolutely. If that would make your chairing easier, I can absolutely do that.
It sure would. Yes, sorry, I should have asked you to do that earlier. I usually have two screens going when I'm doing this, but there we go. Thank you so very much. Didn't want to miss out on anything. So I will call the meeting to order at 10:02 BC time and 1:02 Eastern time. We've received notice that Catherine has withdrawn, unfortunately, and with regrets from the committee. And we have regrets from Luke, who is traveling overseas on business and is likely in a plane right now. So we'll be proceeding with the two remaining members of the committee of three now. So I'll make a recommendation that the agenda be approved as presented. Anne, are you happy with that? Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, thank you. Either of us should make a declaration of any pecuniary interest. I have none. Anne?
None.
Thank you. With minutes of the previous meeting, thank you to staff for producing those for us. So I have a recommendation that the minutes of the Council Remuneration Committee held on August the 20th, 2021 be approved. And by consensus, thank you very much. We have no delegations, I assume, Brittany? Thank you. We have no correspondence at this time, and we do not have a staff report at this time. We have no, Brittany, do we have any public question period for any questions?
We do
None at this time. Thank you very much. We have no unfinished business, so we're going to move immediately now then into new business. So the first report that we had asked was for the Council Remuneration Committee report from 2018. Anne, did you have a chance to get through that?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Interesting reading, but yes, I completed it.
Any questions arising from your review of it?
Not specifically questions with regard to the report, but I did wonder, I appreciated seeing the fact that they included population for the comparators, which I thought was a really good thing. I wondered whether it would be useful to also have operating budget.
Brittany, do we have some financial information on that chart that we'll come to?
I couldn't find it.
Okay.
So with respect to items 10.1 and 10.2, do we have any discussion regarding those items before I jump into the salary comparison?
No, we've just got this one arising from 10.1. Just thank you for redirecting me. I'm going to go back then to 10.2. We'll address Anne's question on 10.1 in a moment. The report that we have seen from the Municipal Council compensation report. Again, I thought it was very well done. I appreciated having the chance to review it. And did you have any questions or comments arising from that particular report?
Oh, good report.
Yeah, it was very well done. So the 10.3, let's take a look at that then. Here we go. Okay. So Brittany, maybe you can just lead us through this. That would be helpful. Yeah. I think you know this very well. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Anne, or Chair Duman, apologies, this will look familiar to you from your previous term on this committee. So we used the same build that we had in 2018, including, as Anne Schneider had mentioned, population, council compensation, the base pay. The blue remuneration totals include all per diems. So what I mean by that is it's a salary-based pay, and then council and other members are not paid per diems for other attendance. All meetings are built in to their honorarium. Okay. So all of this additional information is simply for your information in coming to your final recommendation to council as to who's doing what for benefits, travel expenses, and with respect to policy links, their remuneration policies that they currently have in effect. So we circulated this to all of our neighboring municipalities for their information and review and to provide the most up-to-date information that they could. Some of our colleagues were not able to get back to us by the deadline and therefore have been indicated as not updated from 2018. So the information you'll see in those respective columns is from 2018 is not up to date. We've added a couple of other comparators since you saw this last, Chair Duman, including Northern Bruce Peninsula as well as the county. So with that, you'll note that there's no budget information included in this survey or in this comparator document. If we find that is a benefit and the committee wishes to see that, then we can definitely add a column and go back to our colleagues for that information.
So, Anne, were you looking at the budget for the council expenses or looking at the overall operating budget for the township or municipality?
Actually, I was looking at the overall operating budget because it really speaks a little bit to the level of responsibility a council will be taking on, as well as the population. I think those two give good information.
Okay, so Brittany, those should be very public figures. We shouldn't have to rely on anyone doing any work. So yes, thank you, Anne, for that suggestion. I think that would be very helpful. I'm curious as to your inclusion of Grey County, Brittany. You know, it's so different than us. Did you want us to have it in there as sort of here's sort of the top tier and what the top tier is paying?
Yeah, I believe that was our reasoning, just to give you a full scope of what's happening within Grey County, both at the upper tier and at the lower tier. I will say that our councillors that sit on Grey County Council, being the mayor and the deputy mayor, have had positive experiences with how they handle their remuneration, and that may come out in your interviews with both of those individuals as well. So in preparation for creating this report, I thought it was a good idea for you to have a total picture as to what all of your options are.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate your foresight in arranging that and for having it there as something for us to sort of be very mindful of. So we will certainly leave it there. So as we can see, Anne, did anything in the salaries jump out at you? Did you have any comments that you wanted to make on those?
Yeah, I do have a comment,
Sure.
not specifically to the salaries, but what I don't see in the chart, and I think it's the same one that I got in the agenda package. The South, for example, the ones that are blue, do not, my understanding, they don't have per diems, right? It's a total package. Whereas the ones that are white, they have a salary plus per diems. It would be really interesting to compare kind of at the end of the day how much they actually get with the total of per diem and salary.
I think we can do that certainly for ourselves.
Yeah.
Based on you know just our own budgets and financial reporting. I don't know how easy that would be, but I'll let Brittany comment on it for our comparators. Brittany?
And I think can I just jump in? I think just having it for ourselves would be really good.
Okay. Anne, I'll just let you know, you can take your hand down and leave your mic open. There's just the two of us.
All right.
Yeah, you're most welcome. That's so much easier. Thank you for the courtesy of that, though. So Brittany, can you get us those figures?
So I think and you know, I would call upon Cassie as well just to see if she would agree with this statement. But part of our requirements under the Municipal Act are to report on total council remuneration at the end of each year. So it would be my thought that those figures would be available in those public reports published by each municipality. So
Oh.
we could do some digging to see if we could get at least the last 2 years of those reports for each municipality for your review and include it in this chart for your information. Cassie, do you agree with that?
Go ahead,
Yes,
Kathy.
I do. And I just have a couple comments dating back to when you were talking about Grey County. So
Mhm.
I think it's important that you have that information about what our mayor and deputy mayor receive from Grey County, because they are elected to that county, through us. So some comments that we get sometimes from other councillors is they're on Grey County representing Georgian Bluffs because of our ratepayers. So when you're looking at compensation, some of our councillors like to look at the full compensation for those two roles, because essentially they're on Grey County because they're representatives of Georgian Bluffs. So I do think it's important to have that there as well. As for total remuneration, Brittany is correct. Each township must disclose each and every year how much remuneration was paid in total to their councillors. So that should be a simple enough exercise as going on websites and finding those disclosures.
So, Cassie, can I have a clarification then on the first item you were discussing? The amount that's shown there, Brittany, can you move it over for me? Yeah, the amount that's shown there, the 20,885, that's paid to those councillors who are representing the township. And that's over and above the remuneration paid by the township. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So Grey County pays those amounts to our mayor and our deputy mayor as they are representing the township on county council.
Okay. And they received the same amount, notwithstanding that they have different positions coming out of the township?
Correct. At the county level, they are all just councillors, essentially.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And then, yes, thank you. I think that is important to note when we are working through this. That applies to all councillors at the Grey County level. So the only one who's paid higher than that is it the warden? Is that the term that's used? So that's the warden's salary up there?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much then for that information. Anne, what are you thinking?
So just to clarify then, they get that salary plus they get per diems for every time they do a meeting for Grey County, the same as for the municipality?
No. So that's their flat salary for Grey County. So Grey County has a bit of a different practice in that you get that salary unless you miss a certain amount of meetings. So you're paid that salary for the whole year. They track your attendance, and if your attendance is lacking, then they'll dock your pay, essentially.
So the per diem is a deficit, not an addition.
Yes,
Okay.
you could look at it that way, yes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Anne, we comfortable now?
I think so.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The only question, okay, so I do see some of the columns that have blue that I thought they just got kind of a total amount, but they also have per diems at the bottom. And are those the same then? If they don't attend enough, they lose that amount of money? So Owen Sound, I think, is one. Yeah, I think it's just actually Owen Sound.
So I'd have to review their remuneration policy document to appropriately answer that. But in most scenarios where there is a per diem provided, that would apply to external committees as well as standing committees in some circumstances. So the honorarium would cover the council meetings as well as the committee of the whole meetings. Anything beyond that would then be eligible for a per diem payment.
Cassie has her hand up. Go ahead, Cassie.
Actually, I believe in the city of Owen Sound circumstance, that per diem is more so for members of the public that are sitting on committees, which is something we would have to look at as well. So like if you are going to move in the direction where council gets a flat salary, we do have some committees where members of the public are paid to attend the board meetings. So even though if you were to go the direction of a flat salary, you would still need to define a per diem for those public representatives.
Thank you, Cassie. So we'll keep that in our mind as we move through this to determine whether or not we're going to proceed that way. Any other questions arising from the survey at this time, Anne?
No.
No? Okay. Brittany, then can we move on to the next item in that category?
So
Thank you.
just to kind of
Go ahead.
wrap that up, we will take
Yeah.
the comments from the committee and make those adjustments for your next meeting.
Thank you very much. Okay. Go ahead. Council interviews, the council questionnaire. I couldn't recall and I hadn't gone back to see what we had done before. If you go down to the very end of this, though, because I'd like to start there, I was curious as to why this is a question for us to ask the councillors. Number 17, what was your orientation experience? What do you feel the township may improve on in 2022?
So if I may jump in. So
Please do.
This questionnaire is the same that was circulated in 2018 with the exception of question 17.
Okay.
So since onboarding of this council in 2018, we've had a lot of feedback regarding what the orientation process looked like, specifically with regards to remuneration practices and what was lacking in the orientation practice and what needed to be expanded upon for them to better understand their role and two, how they were remunerated for their participation in council. So in reorganizing our orientation package, specifically while we address remuneration, I thought it might be a benefit to gather their feedback regarding how we can better inform them of remuneration practices and deal with that within this committee setting. If this committee feels as though that's not their role, then I can definitely do this on the back end.
I didn't think that it was because it's not specific to what our mandate is. And I wanted to ensure we didn't have some scopes creeping happening here. So my inclination would be we should be aware of what they had expressed in their comments on the orientation experience as it pertains to compensation. And perhaps you could provide us with that based on the surveys that was done. My inclination is that this doesn't belong with this committee, but Anne, I'd be pleased to hear your comments.
I think that the only way it would belong with the committee is orientation regarding compensation, which I'm assuming is only a small piece of the orientation package.
That's correct.
I wouldn't. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Brittany. I was interrupting you. Please go ahead.
I'm happy to remove it should that be the committee's desire. That's no problem. Yeah. Or amend it to reflect strictly remuneration practices.
When did you anticipate circulating this to the councillors?
So ideally, I would like us to consider scheduling the interviews that we discussed at our last meeting here today. Yes. And circulate this document to them prior to hosting of those interviews. So I would like to schedule those interviews likely in the third week of September, being the week of the 20th through to the 24th. I would like us to ideally select 3 days to host these meetings and provide times that would work for you for consideration of council. I will, of course, do all of the scheduling and administration of these meetings.
Mhm.
But I would like to provide them with this completed survey at least a week in advance of your interview dates, so they have the
Thank you.
opportunity to review and complete them.
Okay, so that's great. We will complete all those tasks momentarily, but let's go back to 17. And is it your preference that this remain and, be specific to compensation, or do you have a feeling of my expectation or my suggestion that it be removed?
I feel a little bit ambivalent, partly because I do not know what the orientation process is. And I think it would more appropriately fit with the orientation process, but I would hate for it to be lost. So
Okay.
that's my only ambivalence, is if it has to be here to not be lost, then keep it. If not, put it with the orientation package.
Well, that being said, and I agree with you, let's make it specific to compensation, Brittany.
No problem.
Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, could you provide us at the next meeting with the comments that arose from that feedback in prior years?
You mean the completed surveys from 2018?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. No problem.
Yeah, okay, very good. Thank you for that. Okay. Let's see then. Before we move on, let's set the times and dates for the council interviews.
Just going to grab a calendar.
Sure thing. Is council having any discussions about when they're going to move to in-person meetings?
So we actually commenced hybrid meetings last night. So what that means is we have a maximum of 5 members in chambers around the horseshoe, and we have the remaining members participating through Teams virtually. A full return to in-person, I would say, is unlikely in the next while, potentially maybe in 2022, depending on guidance from the province. Given the size of our chambers, spacing is quite difficult, especially when welcoming members of the public into chambers. We would be so limited in how many people we could have that essentially it's not a worthwhile venture until we can have more people in the chambers. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, so Anne, you have your calendar. Brittany,
Yes.
you would like to schedule these the week of the 20th over 3 days. I am fine all that week, which is rather surprising because everything at the university starts up yesterday. But that week's good, so I'm good. How are you, Anne?
Actually, that's a good week for me as well during the daytime. I have some evening things.
Yeah, we had done these during the daytime before, so. Okay, Brittany, then we'll proceed with you to schedule the interviews.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll try and schedule all of them within the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just so we're not taking up the entirety of your week or council's week, and then we can avoid interrupting with county council proceedings as well. So we'll aim for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I will try to keep them earlier on in the day as well as to not impact scheduling in the evening.
Okay. Would you send out, I assume you can do this with Teams, send out to the 3 of us, then hold the dates?
Absolutely.
Good, thanks.
So does the daytime schedule, Brittany, work for some of the counselors that have full-time jobs?
So I think we'll leave that for them to tell us if, you know, for example, some of the working counselors have to schedule at 4 or etc. Then we'll try and work the other counselors in during the day as to not keep you guys too late at night. So we'll try and find an appropriate balance between our working counselors and not working counselors.
I think the majority of the working counselors are either retired or self-employed.
No, Ryan isn't.
Yeah, he's one of the few.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, but yeah.
So we'll accommodate them all. And as I said, we didn't have any trouble last time. Cassie, your hand's up.
Sorry, I was just going to comment that both Councillor Thompson and Councillor Pringle have 9 to 5 jobs. So typically they prefer their meetings in the afternoon, being like 3 or 4 o'clock. And Councillor Thompson requires as much notice as possible, as he is also on call as part of his duties.
Thanks, Cassie. We'll take all those into consideration then. Do we have any other business in item 10? Brittany, that comes to mind?
Nope.
Okay. So we're moving on to item number 11, notice of motion. We have none. Item 12, we don't require a closed session. Item 13 is date of next meeting. I'm slowing down here because I'm thinking you mentioned that you wanted to send the counselors out the request for comment a week prior to the meetings. Do you have enough time for that? Everything okay as far as that goes?
Yep, that's fine with me. The only question I would ask of this committee is, do you feel as though you need to have another meeting prior to your interviews with council? Would you like us to present you with the amendments to the comparator information prior to your interviews, or would you like to save that for after?
I have a question of you first. Do you have any idea, and you might know this too, do you have any idea of when Luke is going to be available? Is he overseas for extended time, or?
I think Luke will be back around the 17th, so he should be back for that interview week.
Okay.
I don't know whether he's landing on the 17th or the day before. I'm not sure.
Okay, so the question would be then, Anne, do you and I want to have a meeting with Brittany? I don't think we need any other, with Brittany to, and of course Luke, if he can join us, to review the updated information that Brittany's going to get for us. Are we content to wait until the conclusion of the interviews?
I would be personally fine with waiting until the interviews are completed.
Okay.
I do have some questions about the interview process.
Sure. Well, why don't we do that now then? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I see the questions that are going out to council. Do we stick to that script? Are we allowed to go off script if it feels appropriate?
Yes, we have the ability. It's a one-on-one session, or well, committee and one counselor at a time. And they will sometimes, if my experience holds out, they will sometimes have something that they too don't have in that questionnaire that they want us to be aware of or want us to consider. So it's not that formal that we can't entertain a discussion with them. Brittany, do we usually allow an hour?
Yeah, that's correct. I think we would allow at least an hour. If you found that you needed more with a specific counselor, I would by no means limit you. If both yourselves and the counselor feel that you need longer than an hour, then by all means, absolutely take it. You are correct, Chair Duman, in that it is not as formal as I think the questions lay it out to be. The questions simply are created, in my opinion, to spur discussions and get the, the remuneration thoughts flowing. So by all means, make it your own, and get the information that you feel you need as a committee to create a policy.
So remind me then, the counselors are going to, or are being asked to complete this, but do we get it prior to the interviews?
Yes,
Do we
I
get
will
the-
request that you have them prior to your interviews.
Okay, good, good. That's good. Thank you. Okay, then we will proceed to set the next meeting for, what do you want to set it for, Brittany? Do you want to do it on the Friday, the 24th, or do you want to go to Monday, the 27th, or do you have some other suggestion?
So I would recommend either at the end of that week or at the beginning of the next. That way we can go over your interviews and the recommendations resulting out of them. Whether that's the 24th or the 27th is whatever works best for you guys.
Anne, any preference?
No, as long as we stay clear of the 28th, I'm good.
Okay, so I would prefer then for the 27th, Monday, the 27th. Brittany, how's that for your schedule?
That is fine with me.
Okay, same time?
At 1 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whichever you prefer.
I think this is, Anne?
Either works. What I'm wondering about is, could we actually include Luke in the decision making about the time? Because it would really be good that he's able to join.
It would be, yes, good
Yeah.
for you. How about if we set out the two then for the two options? So Friday the 24th, Monday the 27th, either at 10 o'clock or at 1 o'clock for either one of those days, and ask him to advise us what will accommodate him. Because yes, we certainly do want him involved.
Absolutely, I can do that.
Okay, good, thank you. So, was that the last item on our agenda? Good, thank you very much. Well, I'm sorry that Catherine won't be joining us. She's got lots of experience, but I know she is always quite involved with things. So we've got a nice team here with Anne and Luke and myself, and with your support, Brittany, we'll enjoy this task that we've taken on. So that being said, I'll bid you farewell from sunny British Columbia. I'm going for a walk in the forest.
Nice.
And we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you all. Have a good
Enjoy
day.
your time.
Thank you so much. Bye for now.